All About Beer receives underwriting support from Schilling Beer Company, a modern European-inspired craft brewery in the heart of the White Mountains in the great state of New Hampshire. The folks at Schilling understand the importance of independent journalism in the beer space, and their support helps fund original work. Learn how you can affordably support journalists by visiting allaboutbeer.com/support. And thanks again to the folks at Schilling.
Welcome to Drink Beer, Think Beer, the podcast that gets to the bottom of every pint. I'm John Holl. So much of the North American hop harvest conversation centers around Washington and Oregon, and the breweries in those states making the most of farm proximity for wet hop beers. This week, I'm talking with a Utah brewer who makes frequent trips to Idaho to brew fresh IPAs. Conor Brown of Offset joins me in a moment. First, keep up with everything we have going on by following our social media. We're at All About Beer across the major platforms. And if you have comments, guest suggestions, or just want to reach out, you can always email me at johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL. Speaking of email, if you go to our website, allaboutbeer.com, you can sign up for our newsletter. That's one of the best ways to get all we're producing right to your eyeballs. And if you like smoked beer, join our This Week in Rauch Beer community by searching the group on Facebook or following at TW Rauch Beer on Instagram. We're also supported by you. Please go to allaboutbeer.com/support and learn how just a few bucks can have a huge impact in supporting original journalism in the beer space. We can't do what we do without your support. On that note, thanks to this episode's sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers. Stomp is built for the business community, serving everyone from small independents to larger franchises. Whether you need low minimums for a limited batch or bulk pricing for your go-to products, they've got you covered. Join thousands of breweries that trust Stomp for their custom printing needs. Go to stompstickers.com and try them out and score 15% off of your first order with the code FIRSTRUN.
Shed 60-Minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60-Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60-Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
In Park City, Utah, Offset Beer is doing big things. In a state with laws that can make it tough to be a brewer, Conor Brown, the brewery founder, is doing what he can to bring fresh, flavorful beer to the people, all while creating a welcoming community space. He's currently working to build out the brewery footprint, bringing in new equipment and adding more space. And at this time of year, he finds time to make frequent trips to Idaho, where he loads up on fresh hops to bring back to the brewery for quick turnaround brew days. He's going to tell us all about it, and I hope you leave as inspired as I am. Here's our conversation. I'm headed to Utah in a couple of weeks, as you know, because we've been talking about this a little bit. And I feel like I haven't been in your state in many, many years. And then what I know is sort of limited. And so for a beer traveler, for somebody who likes to travel for beer, what should I be aware of, or any of us should be aware of, when it comes to drinking beer in Utah? Because I feel like I have conversations with folks where it's like, well, we can't get you an imperial stout, but maybe we can if it's in about, like there's all kinds of, and coming from a state with weird beer laws, and I'm not casting dispersions on the great state of Utah, but what should I be mindful of? What should any of us who travel into your state who want to drink at breweries, what should we be aware of before we arrive and then while we're there?
The biggest thing is that we're not allowed to serve beer over 5% on draft. And so any draft beer that you get at any location, whether you're at a brewery or a restaurant or wherever, is 5% or less. We do have the ability to serve you a beer over 5%, but we have to put it in a vessel. So we have to put it in a can or a bottle and then open that entire bottle for you while you're here, which I'm sure, as you know, like really doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because if we make a triple IPA and put it in a 16-ounce can, like you're getting 16 ounces of it. Obviously, if you go to most breweries around the United States where you get a higher ABV beer, you're getting a much smaller portion of that beer usually. So it's a funky law. And we have to have a full bar license actually to even serve you those beers over 5% on premise. So the same license to serve you a glass of whiskey, to serve you a 5.8% beer. So
That's wild. Yeah.
that's kind of the biggest one. And then also, the kind of family or aspect of it. So in order to allow anyone under the age of 21, you have to have a restaurant license, which means 70% of your income has to come from food in order for, anyone under the age of 21. So most breweries, here in the state are not family friendly, unfortunately. Just due to that law. So we are 21 plus only, and unfortunately, can't have children can't have families in, which is a real bummer because I think, as we know, that's like prime target customer for craft beer. And I mean, I would assume we probably lose another 25 to 30% of our potential revenue just because we can't have families in the bar. So
I'm sorry to hear that. But I mean, there's, have you found, because I've seen you in other states and you've traveled around, and obviously you're going to adapt to what your state allows you to do.
Mhm.
Does it just kind of become, I don't know, just part of the process, part of the background where, I know there's like a novelty for those of us who come from other states, but is it impeding you at all? Or is it just like, like this is how we
Um,
do it, and it's pretty okay.
honestly, we totally embrace it. We lean into it, and I think it honestly kind of goes with sort of what's, I think, trending a little bit in craft beer or in alcohol consumption across the country. We our shtick, our thing that we do is we make these 5% IPAs. We won GABF Gold in 2024 for one of them. We had
Yeah.
a nice review in another magazine for one of them. And we fully embrace it. And actually it's almost like it's created this kind of beer that really no one else would make in the United States. I tongue in cheek don't call them session IPA. Like I think there's just such a negative connotation to that moniker. So we call them LIPAs. So if you come to the brewery, there's like an L in front of the IPA, which I intentionally kind of wanted to do something, not call them session IPAs, but wanted to make, like, the new customer that comes to experience our brewery, I wanted to make them ask. Like, I wanted to start a conversation with the customer and really almost like get it out in the open. Be like, yep, we know these laws are dumb. We know that a 5% IPA is not an IPA. IPA really should be 6%. So that's why we call them LIPAs, because a 5% IPA is a lie. But we're doing something where most breweries would just make this beer 6.5%. But because we can't serve anything on draft over 5%, we're really trying to make something that really punches above its weight. So it's really lots of great hop flavor, lots of great hop aroma. It has like the textural, element of a 6.5% beer, but it's only 5%. And it's really, we make one of them probably every week. Our main flagship beer is the one that's available around town is one. And so, it's kind of like what we lean into and we embrace it. And I can't tell you actually the response from so many customers that come like, man, I wish I could get this, where I lived, because usually if you're into hops, that amount of flavor and aroma comes with a lot of alcohol. And I mean, I'm getting a little bit older, and I think a lot of people that maybe, got into when hops were really going crazy, let's say, 8, 10 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe aren't wanting to drink a 7% beer or an 8% beer. They're wanting something with a little lower ABV. And so I think I love it. Just as a hophead myself, I love the fact that I can get tons of hop flavor and aroma in a 5% beer, and it's not watery. It feels full, but I can have two on a Wednesday and not regret it the next day. So
I like
we've leaned
that.
into it.
Yeah.
It's kind of our thing.
Yeah. Um, And you've been doing it. You told me right before we started, because one of the things I wanted to talk about is you're moving into a new space, you're expanding into a new space. You've been doing it in a fairly small space. All these beers, all these accolades have come out of um, I think what most people would consider to be a pretty small brewery and tap room.
Yeah, it's tiny. I think we're going to make about 700 barrels of beer a year this year. We're doing it about 1,800 square feet, including tap room, like a 30-seat tap room. We're brewing on what is called a 3.5 barrel system. We've managed to rig it up so we can get 5.5 barrels out of it each time, and so we double into 10-barrel tanks. But yeah, we're hustling as hard as we possibly can to try and keep up. And yeah, so looking forward to having opening this new brewery, which I don't really want to make a ton more beer, but to have a little bit more room, to not be grinding so hard to try and make a kind of small amount of beer. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is it? I mean, I've had endless conversations with folks in the last 9 months now of this is a hard year.
Mhm.
And we we always knew it was going to be a hard year, right? This was always going to be a rebuilding year, or that was my read on things.
Yeah.
And smart people making smart moves this year will set themselves up better going into 26 is what I was saying mid 24.
Mhm.
Now I don't know what the fuck is going on, but it is, it's harder than most folks imagined on just about every metric. So what is it like to be established, expanding, growing into a new space when so much of the outside conversation is, holy shit, we don't know what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think I'm hearing all that stuff as well. I listen to your podcasts. I think pretty in touch with what's going on in craft beer around the United States. And so, yeah, it's incredibly nerve-wracking, even though I think the numbers that we're seeing, again, we're still so small, but the numbers that we're seeing both in our tap room and in the limited distribution that we are doing are really promising, honestly. Some months of, between 20 and 40% growth. And it's funny to think like, if the rest of the industry maybe wasn't experiencing what it's experiencing now, how much more like maybe excited I would be and how much less trepidation I would have. But yeah, I think trying to really be cognizant of trying to grow really kind of slowly and effectively and make sure that we're not, um, I kind of say like I want our beer to be sort of pulled into the market and not really pushed into the market, because I think here we also have some really interesting, like when it comes to distribution and when it comes to like where your beer can be available, and a lot of it is state run, and it unfortunately leads to a lot of old beer that gets stored warm, and I just don't, trying to do as much as I can to try and preserve, I think, the quality or the integrity of the beer that we make, and knowing that we are on a tiny little system and we really, I mean, we do as much as we can, but I don't have all the tools. I don't have all of the, the technology when it comes to being a little bit more comfortable sending our beer a little bit further, or having our beer sit a little bit more, sit on a warm shelf or sit in a warm place. So, um, I'm excited for sure. I mean, I'm excited to just hopefully not be able to work quite as hard. But yeah, I'm a little nervous at the same time, just because I'm kind of seeing, yeah, what's going on kind of the rest of the world, or the rest of the United States especially. I think we're fortunate here that this is such an underdeveloped beer market, and I think we're the third lowest state when it comes to breweries per capita. So there's definitely some opportunities here. Obviously, I think they calculate a lot of people that are never going to consume a beer into that number, as you know, here in Utah.
Yep.
But yeah.
But I mean, so when like I'm curious about that opportunity, right? Because there are still these pockets of the US, and I think even Jersey can be kind of part of this as well, where there is still some shine, still some excitement around craft, and still folks that you can get interested in the story of flavor or process or community or entrepreneurship or like whatever it is. So when you're in a state that is like what you just described, one, I guess there has to be some sort of, juice behind that for you, excitement, and then I don't know, like creativity to embrace or to help people embrace, what you're doing. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I again trying to I think have a very worldly view or really be in touch with what's going on. I think at the tip of the spear when it comes to creativity and beer and branding and how we speak about beer and present the product that we make. And really, yeah, we're in a place that's a real tourist destination here in Park City. So we're getting customers from, or a lot of people, especially during touristy season, from all over the US. And they're, used to experiencing beer in their maybe more advanced beer market or more developed or mature, let's say, and really trying to offer them something that they would be, they would, yeah, like they would normally experience maybe where they're coming from, whether it be a major, metropolitan area that has a more advanced beer culture. So I think we're really trying to be as as modern as we possibly can, which sort of separates itself a little bit from some of the other breweries here in Utah. And so I think that there's excitement for that. We're trying to use all the cool new products and do all the fun new things. And I think that, we're also, the state is just, we're just getting so many more customers, so many more people are moving here. We have the Olympics coming in 9 years as well, which there's a lot of excitement for that. So I think that there's a lot.
The LA games.
Huh?
The LA games? Or
No,
you guys actually you guys are getting the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, Winter Olympics. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are coming back.
Okay, because I know that isn't parts of Utah getting some of the Salt Lake or some of the Los Angeles games.
Oh, I have no idea actually. No.
Okay.
Nah.
I thought I saw somewhere like whitewater rafting is going to be in Utah this year, or
and it definitely won't be in Utah. We have virtually no whitewater.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, then I'm just making shit up now at this point.
It's really
come for the wrong facts, stay for it's who can keep up these days. Well, that's kind of fun though, and to start thinking that far out. I mean, it's 9 years is a long distance, but also having something to look forward to and having something to work towards. That's got to be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's always trying to look as far in advance as possible, and try and be as patient as possible too. At the same time, like try and be as effective, as just diligent and effective as possible with growth. And I think that's a little bit. I'm opening, obviously we're opening a new brewery. We have the capacity to brew a bunch of beer. It would be really easy for me to just kind of spread a bunch of beer out everywhere, but our brand is not there yet. The demand is not there yet. So really trying to make sure that we keep it, go as slow as we possibly can, kind of, and maintain the quality and hopefully the standard for the brand that I hope to establish when I started this. So
I like that. So we got to talking a couple of weeks ago, where I mentioned I was coming out and we were trying to figure out when we might be able to get together. And I mentioned I'm doing a hop harvest thing, and you very casually, in a very kind of cool way, mentioned that you're making frequent trips during this time of year up to Idaho to pick up fresh hops.
Yeah.
So take me through that journey. Because and I looked at the map, and it's not an insignificant drive, but it is. I love that you're embracing it, because I felt like for a good couple of years there were, and these were the salad days of craft beer, mind you, but there was a lot of brewers that were spread out across the country that were getting overnight FedEx deliveries of fresh hops and mashing in and making these really fun beers. And there's a fun conversation that was around them. And then everything got expensive and people kind of stopped. And now, unless you're in the Pacific Northwest, and my good friend Jeff Allworth had some thoughts about people outside of the Pacific Northwest making fresh hop beers, and he's wrong. But I was excited to hear that you're doing this. So, one, walk me through the journey of what you do and where you go, and then you know what you're making and what reception has been.
Cool. Yeah, this is, I think we didn't make one our first year, but we made a couple the year after that, and maybe a few more the year after. And then last year, yeah, I kind of really went for it, and we had five full options of, canned packaged product, fresh hop beers. We had a 5% IPA, an extra pale ale, a West Coast IPA, and then a double IPA. And then this year we're, yeah, trying to do the same as well. And I think it comes from like a lot of the breweries that I look up to for influence, or, I'm still a beer fan at heart, and the breweries that I really enjoy drinking beer from, or just even seeing what's going on with their brand, or a lot of them are in the Northwest, and a lot of them are making a just stupid amount of fresh hop beers this time of year. I think it's almost a race up there to see who can get
Yeah.
who can get the first one out and who can make the most. And so having some FOMO, 100%, this is FOMO driven of, and having these hop farms it's kind of a long ways. It's a 6 hour drive, going 85 miles an hour. It's 400 miles in either direction for me to go grab these hops. But I've got some, my folks lived up in Boise. I've got a great friend that lives there, and I've made some really great relationships with some of the hop growers up there. And so it's really, as much as, yes, I could probably have some, shipped, and I wouldn't have to go through this whole 12-hour round trip and all this stuff. But it's amazing when you get there, get to the farm in the morning, and walk into into the kilns or into the drying room, and are just assaulted by, lupulin in the air, and just the intensity of the hops, and just seeing everything that's going on with the harvest. It's amazing how energizing it is. I mean, I know last year I was really tired. I think when I made my first trip up last year, just been a long summer of grinding away, and instantly how invigorated I was after that first farm visit, and just seeing everyone so excited and all the energy that's happening. It just got me kind of re-energized again. And it's just such an amazing way to be creative too. Like, there's so many different ways you can use these hops, and whether it's wet hops or it's freshly dried hops, whether you're using them on the hot side, on the cold side, doing special one-off kegs. I mean, there's just so much that can be done. And I think it just creates this level of excitement, and we try and project that, level of excitement onto our customers, and get people super excited to come into the tap room and experience something that they really, there's breweries that definitely make them around here. No one that really kind of goes for it. Usually most breweries are making one a year, maybe two a year. But we try and be the spot here in Utah where, if you want to experience a bunch of different fresh hop beers, whether it be different ABVs, different hop combinations, et cetera, I kind of wanted to be the spot. And it's amazing how much we've learned from it, how all sorts of different processes we're trying, all sorts of different things. And it's just really a super exciting time of year. And, it's our one time of year where we get to use a really fresh ingredient in the beers that we make. So.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, what are you, again, so how do you plot out what you're going to brew? Is it just, pails or IPAs? Are you, taking whatever's fresh and just coming back with it? Like walk me through how you plan out what you're going to put on tap.
It's funny. The first couple of years I tried to target specific varieties that we would go up for, but
okay, that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a shit show, honestly. Like, the growers are sometimes like, "Oh, well, we started picking this one variety, but we stopped. We wanted to give it one more day, so we switched into this variety, and then we're switching into this one in the morning." And it's just like, we're obviously, we're 400 miles away, so I can't pivot super fast. So now we just kind of pick, I pick a day. Ideally, maybe there's an extra day window in there where I can go up, each week. And really kind of grab what's available. Maybe if something's getting picked the night before and they're switching during the night or switching in the morning, I'll have them put a bag of hops in the cooler for me overnight. So maybe there's a little bit more chance of picking something up that's a little bit different. But yeah, we have this series. I just call them all damp. So our series of fresh hop beers is just called damp because it's not just wet hop beers. Wet's been used because we use we use wet hops on the hot side, but then we'll actually use some of the freshly dried hops as well. So before they're baled, I'm just grabbing them off the cooling room floor. And so, yeah, that's kind of where that name came from. So we just have damp, and then we do it with like 25, so the year of the harvest, and then 01, 02, 03, 04, and 05, essentially. And that way it gave me a little bit of wiggle room to like not just pin down like one brand that uses these hops, and then you end up going up there and you can't get those hops. So yeah, we just sort of pick up what's available. I kind of communicate with the farmers a little bit on what they're thinking, and maybe I'll go up a day early, or maybe this last time actually I pushed my trip back a day because they had some rain and they had to stop harvest for a little bit, so I had to push my trip up or push it back one day. So yeah, just trying to be as flexible as we can, but also just not pin it down to like it needs to be these specific hops.
Yeah. Um, what have you learned as a brewer making these beers, right? Because there is that vibrancy, there is that excitement, there is that. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the last truly seasonal beers that I think exists right now. And I mean, there's a lot of people making fest beers and Oktoberfest and et cetera, et cetera. But like tied to an ingredient, tied to the season, and the flavors that you get out of it, the aromas that you get out of it are just so, again, I'm going to use the word vibrant, that I'm wondering for you as a brewer, what that does to set you up for the rest of the year. Or what you've learned along the way that sort of helps your beers outside of this small window.
Yeah, it's a little tough because honestly, they're so like how you make these is so different than really how we would kind of traditionally make an IPA, like how we are forced, just I think maybe more how our brew house is also set up. Our brew house is set up to use pellets, so it's really kind of hard to use fresh hops or whole leaf hops actually. But I would say that last year, I did one round of beers where we added some these freshly kilned hops to a hop back. We have this like pressurized hop back that we use. So we use it after we use the wet hops in the mash tun that we've turned into a hop back. Then we run it through this like small pressurized hop back before the heat exchanger. And I was like blown away by this beer specifically with how much hop character there was of the specific variety that I put in the hop back. Even in the final beer, like I could really pick out, because we only used it in the hop back and it was such a small portion of the hops that I could really pick it out in the final beer. And that really kind of opened my eyes to be like, I wonder if this is something maybe we should be looking into when it comes to integrating it into our beers. And then I did another collaboration beer with one of the hop farms, Diane Gooding, who I know you've spoken with.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last couple of months. We did a collaboration with her and then Hollingberry. And then again, she brought some whole leaf crystal hops that we put in the hop back and kind of did the same thing. And I was, again, just like blown away by how much hop character there was in this beer, even before it was dry hopped. And so we actually started implementing that into our kind of flagship beer every now and again. It's a little hard because it takes a little bit longer and those end up being really long days. So we don't do it all the time, but it really opened my eyes to, again, I've always been someone who's been like a big proponent of using hot side hops. For a long time, it was just using Whirlpool and then just huge dry hops. And we've actually almost kind of started to go back a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
Really using, I mean, we add a lot of hops to the boil as is, but using these whole leaf hops on the hot side in this like pressurized hop back that we use has allowed us to actually take some of the hop load out of the dry hop, which for us as a small brewery, we're trying to get every drop of beer just to be able to keep up with what we're doing. And so if we can get one more keg or 1.5 more kegs, out of a fermenter, that's big for us. That goes a long ways, but also without sacrificing, you could just take the pellets out. You could just, make the beer a little less expressive or whatever. But I wanted to be able to kind of like keep the intensity and find a way to increase yield. And as I'm sure there's all these advanced hop products now that you can use, but I feel like you're taking out vegetal matter, you're taking out pellets, let's say, and using this extract, you lose kind of something along the way. So actually adding the whole leaf hops earlier in the process really adds this cool, like, kind of thing, textural element that has allowed us to kind of reduce our dry hop load, especially in these 5% beers a little bit. So we get a little bit more yield, but also in the 5% beers, it's like a very fine line. You can go over, because there's no alcohol or not as much alcohol to extract maybe some of the more of the compounds. You can get a little bit of a kind of green character, or too much of like a green hoppy character if you go too high with the hopping load, like the dry hop load on a lower ABV beer. So this is a way for us to increase or keep the hop intensity of like where I kind of want it, but actually, yield a little bit more and ideally make a little bit more money and be able to get beer to a few more people. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that kind of, this really started from fresh hop beer brewing last year. So
How does the drive back and forth help you?
well, I get to listen to podcasts the whole time. I'm not joking. I mean,
that might not be the best for your mental health. I guess.
Well, yes, I mean, I honestly, so I still have another job. I am a sales rep in the ski industry, and my territory is Utah, Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. And so I'm used to these long drives. Let's put it that way. I'm used to being behind the steering wheel for a long period of time. And honestly, these podcasts, your podcast, as many podcasts as I could get my hands on, kind of were really honestly critical in me kind of coming up with this brand and this brewery and like what I wanted to do and how I wanted to present the beers. And so they're a great way of really kind of keeping your finger on the pulse of what's happening outside of your little market, whether that be good or bad. But it's just for me, at least, it's the easiest way to make the time go by.
Well, I get, yeah. I mean, and thank you. And I know there's other good podcasts that are out there as well. But I guess what I was thinking of when I asked you that was sometimes these long drives where it's not just a short commute, or, it's, there's not, other people in the car with you, or, whatever, like the mind gets to expand a little bit more, gets to cut out some of the noise. And I had a couple of opportunities earlier this year to drive to beer festivals or events, and I typically don't. If I'm traveling a far distance, I'll fly or train or whatever. But I found myself driving and felt rejuvenated because I had some time alone with my thoughts to plot out larger things and bigger things. And not everybody who has a small business gets to do that, right? Or if it's, you're jumping in the car, you're running because it's an emergency or something like that. And this is something that you're doing for fun, something that you're doing, for the betterment of the beer, for the business, and because you're passionate about it. So I'm sure that there's stretches where you're like, I wish I was just home, but there's also got to be a mentally freeing element to it. And I guess I was sort of, just thinking about the mental health aspects of things, or the, creativity side of things, if those long stretches have been beneficial to the overall business.
I would say yes, wholeheartedly. Yes. I think
podcasts aside,
yes.
Award-winning, fun, Augie Carton talking at you podcasts aside. Yeah.
I can only listen to him talk over so many people for so long.
10 years of my life I'm never going to get back.
I think this is the first time, John, we've had a chance to talk really without someone trying to talk over us. So it's nice. No, I 100% agree with you. I think actually some of my most creative times, honestly, have been behind the steering wheel, have been while driving. And I think I've read something about that. Like it can, like when you're in motion, when you're like you physically, your body is in motion, it can stimulate this other, part of your brain that does lead to, the kind of creative side of things. But I've come up with, a lot of the beer names, the label. I make all the labels. I come up with all the names, everything. So I've come up with all of that, or a lot of that actually while driving. And I think it does. I think you're right. It does really kind of stimulate a different yeah, part of your brain maybe where you do maybe think a little bit differently. And yeah, there are some really the drive, especially to the hop fields from here, is incredibly boring. But I think that there are some great moments of creativity and concentration that do come through actually from these long drives. So I really would agree with that.
Yeah, it's just sort of something to, for other brewers out there, anybody really, to just kind of take into consideration of, you know, getting out there a little bit more, because sometimes being outside of the four walls helps a little
Yeah,
bit.
totally.
Um, being mindful of your time. I'm going to ask you the green door question of, with the premise being in the television show The Good Place, final season, they introduced the concept of the green doors where the characters can walk through and be anywhere they want, doing whatever they want. So if we had a green door on our plane of existence and you could walk through it when this conversation ends and be at any pub or any brewery anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Who would you want to be with? And what would you like to be drinking?
Well, since I listen to your podcast all the time, I've had a chance to think about this
That's
quite a bit. I'm
I
not.
appreciate
You're not
that's
catching me.
because I know that you listen, so that's why I kind of glossed over it. Whereas there's other folks who are like, "Wow, it's a really good question." It's like, thank you for not listening to the show for the last 5 years. That's fine. They know who they are.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I've thought about it a lot actually, and I think I would. I think I'd like to go back to the Alchemist. I actually never got a chance to go to the Alchemist pub in Waterbury, so I'm a Vermonter.
Yeah,
Grew up in Vermont, was very influenced by a lot of what was going on in Vermont. And I would think I would like to go, yeah, to the pub that got kind of washed away.
we're
Uh,
just about at the 10-year anniversary of that. That just
yeah,
passed recently.
yeah, yeah. And I think and sit at the bar and have a heady topper with my dad. I think would be it. I think my dad kind of inadvertently, um, he was always kind of drinking, whether it be import beers originally or then, craft beer. I feel like we always had a Catamount or a Long Trail in the beer fridge or a Magic Hat or something in the beer fridge when I was in high school or after coming back from college. And so, he never really didn't push me into beer, but he was always kind of, I think, exploring a little bit, craft beer or better beer. And, anytime he would go out to dinner or get a beer, he was always ordering an IPA. That was always his thing. And so I never really got to experience the Alchemist at the original location. I kind of came to that sort of level of beer a little bit later. And so I think I would
Yeah,
love to have gone and experienced that brewery and that brand in its original kind of tiny location and had some of their beers on draft and got to experience it maybe a little bit before the hype. Yeah, just have a meal and a couple IPAs with my dad. I think would be good.
I like that. That's really cool. That was a fun spot. I will say. I mean, their current spot is
Yeah.
beautiful and fun and great in its own way. But yeah, there's something to be said for some of those early vibes. And as you were just saying that, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in person. By the time this airs, we'll say next week. When I see you next week, it's 2 weeks from now, but this will air next week. Whatever. I'm fucking with time. But it sounds like you're doing something similar there and giving people a place to go and to experience beer in a fun way and feel good about doing it. So I'm excited to visit you in person and to um, see what Park City's all about these days through the beer lens. So thanks for doing what you're doing. Thanks for being on the show this week.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It was great to chat with you. Thanks for everything you do for beer, John. The industry is better for it.
Oh,
So
you're too kind. Make sure you join the This Week in Rauch Beer group on Facebook or follow at TW Rauch Beer on Instagram. As always, you can reach me anytime via email at johnholl@allaboutbeer.com. That's JOHNHOLL at allaboutbeer.com. Go visit allaboutbeer.com where you can check out new content as well as the archives going all the way back to 1979. And if you go to our support page, you can learn how just a few bucks can help fund original journalism in the beer space. All About Beer's on social media at All About Beer on the various platforms. And before we run, here's a word from this week's sponsors. StompStickers.com is loaded with features to make ordering a breeze. They save all your artwork and order history, so restocking your bestsellers is just a click away. Oh, and did we mention free shipping on every order? Try Stomp Stickers today and snag 15% off of your first order with the code FIRSTRUN.
Calling all hopheads. Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA is a fantastically hoppy India Pale Ale that's beautifully balanced thanks to their unique continual hopping method. Delivering a pungent hop flavor that isn't crushingly bitter, 60 Minute is continually hopped throughout the boil for a full 60 minutes. Starting to see where the name comes from? Check out dogfish.com to learn more and to find some 60 Minute near you. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
Don't forget, All About Beer has a podcast channel. Search and subscribe on your podcast platform of choice. Steal This Beer has new episodes every Monday, and the BYO Nano podcast comes out on the 15th of every month. As for this show, Nate Schweber does the music, Jeff Quinn designed our logo, and I'm John Holl. New episodes release every Wednesday, and that's when I'll be back again to drink beer and to think beer.